Good morning, Remy.
Good morning, Breck.
Welcome to Coffee with the Cowgirls. I'm Breck Kruger.
And I'm Remy Greer.
And it has been such a busy fall. We're off schedule once again. I feel like Coffee with the Cowgirls is just a testament to if you drop the ball, you just got to pick it back up and keep trying again.
Yeah,
Right?
last week was my fault. I was a hot mess. I had a sick kid, and then I got sick, and so we scrapped it for last week.
So we have some catching up to do. Remy, well, last week was 9/11
It was.
on Monday. That was on my list of things to talk about because, gosh, that was decades ago. But yet I still remember everything, and I feel like it's important, so we should talk about it.
I was a junior in high school.
And I was a sophomore in college.
It happened actually on our. So I went to a school that started late, so it happened on our first day of school, and I stayed in not my room. I stayed in another. I don't know why I was staying in another room in my house, but we were remodeling the house, and this room had like orange shag carpeting, and the wallpaper was like the textured plaid from the 60s, like where you can touch it and it's like corded, and it was like black and orange and yellow. And I didn't have a TV in my room, but I had a TV in that room. Maybe that's why I stayed in there. And I turned the news on to see, because I was gonna like do my hair and makeup, which was like out of the ordinary for me anyway. And I remember I woke up really early and I saw all the coverage, and was not a good day. So
we so I was a sophomore in college, lived in this house with four other girls. We were also getting ready for school and turned on the news, and I just remember standing in the living room looking at it in disbelief, I think. The other thing was that I can't remember if it was one or two. I know one for sure. One of the girls in school who was a friend of ours from Nebraska, her grandpa happened to be working in the Pentagon that day. And so it was just really wild. I just remember it being really wild. And then we were worried about gas. Do you remember that?
yeah,
Because
so we it was a weird. I remember. So my uncle had his office right by the Pentagon. So the plane that hit the Pentagon went right by his office window, and I remember talking to him. So he was a lobbyist. And so, aside from the national worries about gas, we were then talking to my uncle that's like telling us all these things that we had to be prepared for. And
it
it was
was a
very,
scary time.
it was a very weird time. Where I went to high school, we ended up, there's a lot of guys that worked in the financial district in New York. So we lost a couple guys, even though we're from California, we lost a couple of alumni to the
I
bombing.
know. It's really hard to wrap your mind around. So many good people were lost that day. The amount of work it took for the paramedics, the firefighters, the EMTs, amazing. They are amazing. I can't imagine going through anything like what they did to rescue all those people. Some of them lost their lives in the process of it. Yeah.
No, the boys listening to the at their school, they went over the tapes from the Boston flight, and those I cannot listen to those. They break my heart every time.
I mean, yeah, those people did not wake up that morning thinking that it was how their day was going to go. Thousands of people woke up that morning not thinking that's how their day was going to go. What?
So we had September 11th. What else did we have last week? Shout out to Michaela Thorlickson. She had her baby yesterday.
What'd she have?
She had a little dark-haired boy named Caleb.
Oh, cute. And is her mom on her way out there, or is she there?
She's on, or she's there now. And they didn't find out what they were having, so I couldn't do that. So more power to them. They just waited till he came.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations, Thorkelson family. I well, a shout out to Leanne Johnson now that I know that she listens. She commented on a post that I had on Facebook a couple weeks ago, but I wanted to tell her this through Coffee with the Cowgirls. I'm taking a hiatus from my personal Facebook page, Remy. I'm only on my business pages.
Yeah, I have been with not announcing it for like a month now.
I'm announcing it because I feel badly, and thank you for that kind comment. And I should have responded on there, but I'm taking a break. So now that we got that out in the air, sometimes social media just makes you feel like shit, Remy. I don't even know why. I mean, it's not like shit like I'm jealous of people or anything like that. It was starting to make me feel like shit. So I had to shut it off. I didn't Brandon still looks at mine. Let's be honest, he's on mine all the time. But I do not go on it. I stay on my Top Hand page, the Kruger Performance Horse page, and this page.
So I just post through Meta, so I don't see anything at all. Like I can't see anything, so I just do the post through there. And I figure if I'm going to waste time, I would prefer to waste it reading a book than on social media. So I haven't been on social media in a long time. And I actually don't miss it. I like all the books I'm reading instead.
You know, I just like the way that I feel.
Yeah.
I like the way that I feel for not being on it. So, like I said, I'm still on it a lot, but I'm trying to get better. We both suck at the top or the Coffee with the Cowgirls page. We probably better get in a better rhythm with that. It is hard to keep it all going, though. It is so
I
hard.
think I go through like phases of it, and then I haven't been posting anything personal. So if I don't post anything personal, then I don't have anything to post on Coffee with the Cowgirls. So that's where I'm at.
With the Top Hand thing, I've been trying to get good at doing in Meta every Monday posts for the whole week, like 3 posts a day. Do you know how hard it is to think of 3 things for 7 days in a row to post?
Again, that's why I always posted personal things because they're a lot easier to for me to post, right? Like I could have posted. We went to a bowl sale on Sunday, and could have posted that. That was fun. I went to a bowl sale. James bought me lunch because they give you a free tri-tip lunch with the sale.
You guys had a day date and a free
He's
lunch.
like, I'm gonna buy you lunch, and I was like, what we're gonna pay for bowls is gonna buy me lunch.
Nice.
Yeah.
Remy, you'd be proud of me. You would be proud of me. I feel like I've been punching my cowgirl card hard all week long.
You told me that you've been riding 2-year-olds again.
It doesn't even stop there, Remy. I've been riding 2-year-olds with no one home. Oh, maybe we should back up. Like I'm the biggest scaredy cat you've ever met in your life. What?
That's just bad planning. You got to make sure someone's home when you're riding young ones.
But I'm so confident. I've been riding them so good that I feel very confident in my ability right now. I've been trail riding.
Look at you. How do you trail riding on the 2-year-olds though?
No. I mean, no. But some of the other horses, I mean, I have my little horse, he doesn't like that tall grass on his belly. And that kind of was scary at first for me, but I'm like, I'm doing this and I am doing it. And it's been good. And I like it. And I'm just really feel like a cowgirl the last couple weeks here.
I've been running cross country with the boys, and yesterday we had to run hills, so that really whipped my ass. My legs are really sore today.
You get a gold star, Remy.
I follow everyone, so I have to wait on the back end, which is great for me because it means that I get to walk a lot.
You guys are doing good. Just take your time.
And they're just like, well, and it's funny because like they start them running around they start running on the field, and then they start running around the block, and now we're running hills. And I'm listening to these girls talk yesterday, and they're in Brayden. So they're in fourth grade. They're in Brayden's grade, and they're like, I'm not gonna walk during the race. Like I have the best endurance, and the other ones are, I'm the fastest, and I'm like, girls, I've been running with you for like a month, and never once have you made it even 7/10 of a mile without stopping. I did not say this. I did not crush their dreams. I'm just like, okay. And then
got this.
there was a boy yesterday. He's like, every time I run, my shoulder clicks. And I was like, I am old and fat and still running. You can keep running. He's like, well, I'm fat and ugly. He's like, it's like painful. I was like, I did not say you were fat and ugly. I said, I was old and fat and I'm still running. You can continue to run.
Oh, that's funny.
I do. I tell the like when the girls start walking, I'm like, even if we're gonna walk, we need to take big steps. Like, and they're so like when we're running the one part, they're like, oh, my cousin lives here. We should stop here. I'm like, you can't stop. We are training. You got to run.
Oh, I can't imagine. Like, nope. Surely can't, Remy. I can't imagine running next to you because I would be like, I'm gonna stop and see my cousin too.
Sure, that's my cousin too. No.
Oh, funny. Any other new things before we? I don't even know if we should embark upon the conversation that we're going to embark upon today because it's going to get me really fired up, and I don't know if you understand how fired up I am about this subject.
I know. Fall is trying. We have false fall right now. If you want to talk about the weather.
Have what?
False fall.
Oh, the weather's been so awesome here. Love it.
Yeah, here too. Which means I'm going to hit 100 degrees in like 2 weeks because it's been like mid 70s, low 80s, which for us is cool in the fall. I mean, not like fall, but like right now. But I'm not falling for it because I know that October will be like 100 degrees.
It is. Where could one live that would be like this all year round? Because that's where I want to live.
Central California.
It is just so beautiful right now. It's like 86. Well, yesterday it was 86, but um it was 86 and then last night it was like 50. It was a perfect night to have a fire and
we're doing like the high 50s, low 60s at night, which is good because it's like mid 70s to low 80s during the day, so we're not getting the big swing on cattle to get sick. So that's important for us. But dead October tends to be 100 during the day and like 40 at night. So there's that.
In a perfect world, I would love to be wherever it is this perfect temperature all year long. It's just been beautiful and gorgeous, and I love the I forgot how much I love fall with the changing of the trees and
I mean, I love fall, but we don't have changing of the trees.
You don't?
I mean, some trees, but not all of them. We have evergreen trees for the most part in California.
Yeah, we do. We have those here too, but they're not very pretty. They don't do anything, but we've got lots of different colors of trees that change, and it's gorgeous. But my Top Hand Cowgirl deal is getting so big, Remy. There's so many people that are commenting how nervous and scared and yada yada they are. Yeah, me too. I'm getting nervous and scared. Like, are we going to be able to corral all these women? And I think that we're at 65 or well over that right now. That's a lot. It's the biggest one we've ever had.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited.
We helped with a charity this weekend, last weekend, called Charity for Charity. And it's kind of like a mini Make-A-Wish. Like they pick people and they donate. They have like this festival at a winery, and we did the sorting. And last year they didn't get done, or barely got done in time, and they only had 30 people. So this year we capped it at 50 people. And one of the people that kind of helped last year was like, "Oh, we'll never get done in time." And I told the guy that hired us, and he's a friend. He runs All American Trailers, and he was like, "Are you sure you're going to get it done?" I was like, "Trust me, we'll be much more efficient than last year." So we got done with the awards and everything, even though we were an hour late starting, not because of us, but because they had a junior bull riding and then button busting. And it was awesome. My kids rode in it, but they were an hour late with
Did
it.
they love it?
Yeah, they were 30 minutes late getting started with that. Fair enough. And then they got even more entries in it than they thought they were going to get. So they were an hour late getting done. So by the time we got started, we were an hour behind. But we still got done in time, and it was great. It was fun.
That's
There's all the
awesome.
people that came and watched it. So we did that. But, the same thing. The guy's like watching people come in. He's like, "Are you going to be okay?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, we'll be fine. I'll get it done. I'll get it done quickly."
Oopsie. Um, for those who have been following along with Hillary, the story of Hillary, it wasn't just me who thought she was amazing. Remy and I have already kind of talked about this, but she had 1,300 people show up at her wake, which I think that that's incredible. I've talked to so many people since, and they're like, I don't even know 1,300 people. I don't know if I do either. So, and then her little girl Johnny had her first high or Little Britches rodeo this weekend without her mom, and so I knew it was going to be super hard, and I was kind of concerned just about that. She's 12. She's
Yeah.
always done it with her mom. But she did rock it. I'm like, you make sure you send me videos and text me how you're doing. She won the breakaway roping on Saturday, and then I didn't hear anything from them. Well, I heard from them on Sunday as she was laying in Children's Hospital in Iowa City. She had a mishap coming off of her horse in the goat tying, and she just looked like she was like kind of slingshotted from a rubber band or something. I don't even know how to explain it. It was like a somersault, whipped her down to the ground.
It
Her
looked like,
arm,
unfortunately, it looked like every other goat tying accident, because that's what they all look like.
oh my gosh. She's in a neck brace. She broke her C7 vertebrae. Uh, she was in the hospital for a few days. She got out on today's Wednesday, Monday. Um, she's gonna be fine, thankfully. But talk about the luck. I mean, my God. I told her that if that happens one more time, she's going to get a pleasure horse, and that'll be the end of that. We're going slow for the rest of her little riding career.
James used to rope calves, and I never understood getting off of a perfectly good horse.
Well, I've never really watched it, Remy. I don't know. They sent me the video, and I was like, shit, I feel like she's going really fast. Does that look like she's going really fast? I know nothing about it. When she came into the arena, it looked like so fast. I'm sure that's what they all look like, right? I would not want to get off of that
I
horse at
again,
that rate of speed.
goat tying, steer wrestling, calf roping, it's all the same to me. Why are you
Yeah.
getting off of a perfectly good horse? Speaking of Michaela Thorlickson and goat tying, she forgot her purse one year. We were, I think, San Antonio. I think we're in San Antonio. She forgot her purse at like a McDonald's, and so it had this really weird parking structure that you'd like go in a circle up, because you don't need to go park. I'll just jump out and grab it. Like, we thought that we would like park the car and circle around. So we get in front of the McDonald's, and she opens the door and she goes, "Go tie dismount," and just jumped out of a moving vehicle.
She was okay though.
They're just like, but like, I have a lot of videos of her, doing the scorpion. Like, you see it with a lot. I mean, unfortunately, Johnny hurt her neck, but you'll see like a lot of them where they just like whack and they just keep rolling. It's scary. Seems like a
Yeah.
bad idea. Not only that, or you see with the goat tying when they run and get caught up in the rope. That also scares me.
Yeah, it would. There's probably a lot of different variables that you could go through scenarios. I don't know. I'm glad to hear she's okay, but that happened. So today, um, we're going to talk about the education system, public school system versus homeschool, and all of it.
Or private
I've got
school for me.
what?
Or private school for me.
Yeah. Well, we don't have that option. We live in rural America here. Um, all of it. I think. Well, and I think this is probably a good conversation to have because I know that we get a lot of young moms who listen to us. There's a lot of women who listen to us who may be on the fence about whether they should homeschool or continue the public school system with their kids. And I don't know if you've noticed that, but I have noticed that there's quite a few women that I know with kids in the age ranges of 12 to 15, same as mine, and a lot like my story where they've been in public school their whole life and they're pulling them out now. I saw two women that I know that just did that this school year with their kids. They pulled the kids out to do homeschool for whatever reason. I don't know.
No, we have a lot of, they used to be called future schools. I don't know what they're called now, but like, especially in our area, for guys that junior rodeo or dirt bike, like, or do like the off-road racing. So they're supposed to
Motocross.
go to school. They go to school, I think, 2 days a week, and then the rest of it's like a hybrid homeschool and schooling deal. So that's easier for a lot of people.
I love that concept. I mean, I told you earlier that I wasn't sure if we should embark on this because I have got
Breck's been real
such
riled up, people on the phone.
I had a meeting yesterday, Remy, and
That
it
was
went well.
Did it? Did you have the meeting with the teacher you were supposed to have the meeting with, or did you have the meeting with someone
She
else?
wasn't able to be there, so I got to speak my piece, and it was well known when I left the building that I was not a fan of hers and that I feel like she needs to educate herself on how to talk to people. So, um, here's the deal. I believe that there's two ways to skin a cat in everything that you do. I believe that there is more than one way to learn other than having your ass in a seat in a public school system or a private school setting or wherever. I believe that I can't believe that we went through 2 years of COVID and having to learn how to distance learn and all of that other things. And when COVID's over, the school systems go right back to how they were doing school traditionally. They made no changes. They see no need to make a change. I cannot wrap my head around that. I do not understand it. It pisses me off to no end that the ones who are educating our children, they do not, they will not, they are just feet in the ground, not changing for 1 minute. I love the idea of what you said about that trade school or future school with the hybrid thing. Finding staff for these school systems is so hard. They can't. They have no extra help. They have no substitute teachers. They are having a hard time getting teachers. Our lovely Governor Walz pulled out all of his support for the law enforcement to be in the school systems to make sure that our kids are safe. Now, maybe not such a big deal in our little rural America school, but I promise you it is a big deal in the inner cities in Minnesota. So there's no more law enforcement, police interaction in the school districts in Minnesota because Governor Walz pulled them out. He took the funding away. Where else would you like me to go here, Remy?
No, I mean, so it goes back to like you said. So we had like the ghost is COVID is coming back to haunt a lot of kids in just where they're at education wise, right? And also how they learn.
Behind 2 years, most of them in
So
education.
it didn't affect Kyle, which is my oldest one, but he's kind of some of the stuff that he's being affected by has nothing to do with COVID really. And but where Braden really got hurt is just phonetically. Like that's right when they were going to do phonics, and he's behind on all of that. No matter how hard we work, it's really hard for him to catch up because
Both of my boys.
there's this very small period when they're at a certain age that you can teach them phonetics and have them really understand that. But my brother's boy that's older, he was in that space for math, right? So now his math is behind because of it. And thankfully they all go to a very small school where you can ask for help. But you see it across the country, right? You see these kids that either have a weird social stunted problem because of COVID. Because the hard part for a lot of people now, our kids are not in that as far as social. We don't have a social issue, right? Our boys, your boys and mine, have a lot of
Thriving.
social
They're
interaction, right?
thriving socially.
But you have to think about, like, and I deal with some of these people that are now, like, that's the end of the COVID, like, and now they're in college, but they were like those seniors and stuff, and it really messed up their social skills because they don't understand, like, they just have a different social atmosphere because they're used to kind of being alone and not in big groups, and that changes how you learn. It changes a lot of things. But I do see it, and part of the reason that my kids don't, to be honest, there's 3 reasons my kids don't go to public school, and none of them are going to seem like a big deal, and they are to me. First, our public schools around here start at 7:30, and I'm never going to make that bell. That's step one. Never going to be on time. Just
At least you're honest with yourself, Remy.
I know who I am as a person. It's not going to happen. The other thing is truancy for us. So, and I know that's part of your problem with your boys is truancy, right? So if you miss X amount of days at a public school or X amount of days together,
they're coming after your ass.
And here they will. In fact, I used to be friends with the truancy officer, so they really do, because I don't know if it's the same thing in Minnesota and California. They get paid for every day that your child is in a seat, so they don't actually like. And I'm not saying this about individual teachers, right? A lot of teachers do care that they're there, but the system in and of itself wants your kids' ass in that seat so that they get paid by the state. And the third reason is like, so for us, it goes back to the truancy. We're still on reason 2. We take our kids. If I want to go to Disneyland, we go to Disneyland. If we're going to go to a horse show, if we're going to go to Texas, if we're going to go do this, if I need them to come help us work cows on the ranch, which isn't a real need, but it's good for them and it's good to see what we do, and they are good help, I'm going to pull them out of school, and I'm not going to feel guilty about that, because the day that they miss learning that, well, I can help them with that education, but they missed out on a big chunk of our life that they shouldn't be missing out on. And the third reason is that I like them being in smaller class sizes, where if they need help, they can get the help that they need. And so that's why my kids go to a private school. Even if I don't agree with everything that happens at the private school, I also have a bit better voice at the private school than I do in a public school.
Oh, I know. So for those of you who do not know, my kids have always been in public school up until 3 years ago, right? Is that when I did it, Remy?
Yeah.
This will be year 3.
This is the 3rd year, so we're like in the 3rd year.
Yeah, this will be year 3. So they've always been in public school, but then when we made the decision to go to Arizona in the winter, obviously I have a very strong opinion on not putting them in school in Arizona, because we're not going to infiltrate ourselves into the school district, and I'm not going to put my kids through that. I know what a problem drugs are in our little school district, which is in a small farming community. Drugs are a big deal. I can't imagine what they would be like in a bigger area. So I'm not going to do that to my kids, and I'm not going to do that to myself. So we chose to do the homeschool. The first year I did an online Christian program. There was no structure. It was very hard for us. The second year they went to school. They went to our school district up until we left. I pulled them out, and then they went on a Minnesota public online school system. Much better. That is the same plan for this year. Last week, I get a call from one of the teachers, because my kids are phonetically behind as well. And I think it's a boy thing, Remy, because
so part of that is true too, right? Like James always said, like, all the boys in his family had to go to speech, And Braden pretends to be illiterate, and I say pretends because when you get his state testing back, he's still like in the 95th percentile, and you're like, so you just pretend you can't read?
Yeah.
Awesome. But they do. Boys are always tend to be phonetically behind girls.
I it, I'm terrible at math. My kids can do math, and I'm really good at spelling. I can write, I can spell well. They don't have any of that, and it's hard for me to understand because I learned how to spell by memorization and sounding it out. They don't sound out a word, or they can't hear the letters when you're sounding it out.
So what's funny is now I've had 4 boys in school, right? And we had sight words for the first 3. Like there's this list of words that you have to memorize, which is great because some of them aren't phonetic. They don't phonetically make sense, right, on your sight words. However, they did everything with sight words, and Kyle and Trent have figured out how to sound things out. Now, Braden, if it's not a sight word, he's like, "What? I don't know that word." And I'm like, "But you should." And now Clayton is in kindergarten, and guess what? They went back to phonics and away from sight words because again, there's like this weird catch up that's not working with sight words.
Yeah, and so yesterday I lobbied for my kids to get special help way back before any of this homeschool stuff started. Way back. You have to go advocate for your kids and you have to ask for the special help. And back then, it was an IEP resource room. It probably is considered the special education, but that is the only way that you can get help. Even back then, that was the only way that you could get help for their reading and spelling. So I always go to those meetings every year because I want to continue that. Well, I was pretty fired up last week, as you know. I won't even get into that. But then I get there yesterday, and the writing was real clear on the wall that public school systems are very much in trouble, Remy. They made no bones about it. If I didn't have my kids in that IEP, there is no help. There's no paras. The schools have no paras. Can't find them. So the only way that they get additional help is by being in that resource room that I lobbied for how many years ago? A long time ago. Uh, blew my mind. Blew my flipping mind. I can't believe it. And it was also stated in that meeting, well, they stated something about 2 years. 2 years ago was COVID. I've heard a ridiculous number, like 98% of the children in the United States are behind by 2 years because of COVID. So if they're in 6th grade right now, they're at a 4th grade level because of COVID. What are we doing?
No, and I think that's the other thing too is what we should have learned out of COVID and what we know as parents and as teachers, right, is that kids learn differently.
Amen. They wanna they wanna
So
medicate
yeah,
these kids. They if they don't sit in the seat, keep their mouth shut, and I
and
can't.
so again, right, like I had a whole different education than a lot of people. I went to private school all the way through, right? So they looked at you as an individual. Even when I went to Catholic school when I was younger, there was a lot of like Remy talks too much in class, but all the things that people get in trouble for. But it's still what I mean. It was stricter in Catholic school, but by the time I got to middle school and high school and then college, they thought of you as an individual, and they helped you learn in different ways. Well, we learned that with COVID, right? That not every like drastically because we did at home learning. But when I was a senior in college, my community service was that we went and taught at a public school. So we went and taught classes at a public school, and we had to kind of audit master's programs if we were going to do anything with education. And I remember auditing this one program at a graduate school and it was like to get your degree in education. Now, I never wanted a degree in education. I was going to get a degree in history I mean, my master's degree was going to be in something else. It wasn't going to be in education. And I already had that bias before I went to this class. And I go to this class, and it's literally how you sit kids at a table. And I was like, that is kind of helpful. Maybe. But maybe we should figure out like if a kid is having problems with this, maybe we should offer him a different source to look at so he's at least interested and engaged in the subject, rather than you can only sit 4 kids to a table and you should never have more than 2 boys in a grouping of 4. Like that, if you don't have common sense, you probably shouldn't be teaching anyway. Like, don't
And
put 4 boys together.
I don't mean to sound like I'm ragging on teachers, because I'm not. There's so many good
And
teachers.
the problem is, like, so think about it this way. The problem is, and I see it a lot because I have a lot of teacher friends, right? Some of the best teachers get burnt out by dealing with the educational system.
Well, that and their hands are tied in the majority of all of this, because the decisions that I'm talking about, they're made by the educational board, or what, I don't even know what that board is called, but that board is flipping bullshit. And if I had the time to really get after them and go do it, I freaking feel like I would, because I'm so sick of it. And the thing about homeschooling is it's hard. It is the hardest thing that I've ever done.
So during COVID, when I had to homeschool my own children, and remember, I have teaching credentials. Like, I took the
I
test.
have none.
I have teaching credentials. And I told James, I was like, I don't care what it costs. If we don't go back to school next year, we are hiring someone. Maybe we can get other kids to come, and like we'll make like a little teaching
Co-op.
pod. Because that's what a lot of people around here did that. They like made these, we called them pods, right? These little pods where you would hire teachers. And I was like, I will hire a teacher because I'm going to kill my kids. I'm going to kill them. Now I can teach other people's kids. I cannot teach my own kids. So,
Well, the
maybe.
thing about the homeschool, Remy, it's is stigma the right word? Like in my head, and I've talked to other homeschooling parents, and they all laugh and they're like, "You're not wrong. You're so right." It takes a good 2 years to untrain yourself, me, on how a school day should look, because I've been trained for years, decades, to believe that they had to be in a seat for hours on a day, and they had to go through so many subjects a day, and it was painful. It was a wreck. It was a wreck.
So,
Now I've learned that is not how all learning is done.
well, think about, like, okay, so let's think about like very wealthy people, like pre-modern school system, right? And even not so wealthy people, but you think about the founding fathers, all these people for centuries had tutors, right? And yes, you would do a couple subjects a day, but they would work on like history for 3 months. And I'm just giving like random time periods, right?
Yeah.
They would talk about that and then maybe do some language and some art. And like that's how their tutors were. That's how their private tutors were. You weren't doing like 43 minutes of math and 43 minutes of spelling, because it didn't make sense. And then it's also not natural, right, to have these like very blocked out things where you could have a whole course of study. Because think about it more like college, right? We take 3 or 4 classes that are very specific every semester, rather than, 7 periods of bullshit that you don't care about.
Right. And how much are they actually learning in that school anyway? Because there's so many kids with terrible behavioral issues that are interrupting what they're trying to learn in those short blocks of time, or short spans of time. I'm doing it. I am letting my children go back to school until November. To It's for them. I feel like I'm doing it for them. I don't know. Probably fucking them up. I'm not sure.
If you listen to, she's not going to say it. The teacher that she has an issue with told her what a horrible life her children have because they're going to be out of school.
Yeah, and so while we're trying to let them live this life with their friends at school, which I feel is important for the social aspect of it, they really like it. They really want to do this. So here's the issue, though. We can't plan anything out because of the truancy thing, Remy. This weekend, we are supposed to leave tomorrow for Billings. So they would be out of school for Thursday and Friday. And they're both like, we've got tests tomorrow. We can't go. It's Wednesday morning at 8:30 here. I have no idea what my kids are going to do this weekend. They probably are going to have to stay home. Next week, they're supposed to go to Reno. Those teachers are going to flip their shit if my kids are out from Tuesday to Tuesday, because that's what it would be. The weekend after that, we have to be gone. And then you got USTPA finals. I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I'm going to get
No,
my ass chewed by these people.
no, and honestly, like when it sucks, because you're in a rural area, so people should have more understanding. But it's for us, like when it's branding season, right? Well, the boys will be out of school for 2 or 3 days because they come and do all of us. That is important, you know,
Yeah, the help. Have the help.
to have the help and to have them really getting trained up for what they're going to do at some point in the future. And that might not be their end goal, but they'll be
Here's my
helpful.
other dilemma with school, which makes me so stinking mad. And I'm going to use Bronson as an example because what does Bronson love to do, Remy? He loves to win.
Yeah.
He loves to. The child is that way. He's always been that way. He's terrible at reading and spelling. Actually, not so terrible at reading. He's terrible at spelling. Um, However, when I have him for the homeschool, I'm like, Bronx, if you don't know how to spell a word, you have an iPhone, you have an iPad, just look it up. That's cheating. I can't do that. School taught him that. And I'm like, in my world, it's not cheating, Bronson. If I teach him how to use his resources, that is a win. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I told them that yesterday. I said, let's be honest, folks. AI is going to replace a lot of the stuff that you're trying to teach them. In 5 years, what is AI going to do? Are these kids even going to have to write a paper, Remy?
No, so we had my Kyle's religion or Christian studies class right now um, is asking questions that in my opinion, so again, right, not that I don't have problems with private schools, I have less problems than you, but so they have these essay questions that they have to answer. One, I don't think they're appropriate for a sixth grader, and two, I think they're way too private for a sixth grader. One of them is like one has selfish ambition, also known as envy, caused you to have strife in your life, and how
I
did God?
don't even know how to answer that.
So that's my point, right? So first of all, and then when you bring
Strife
it
in
up,
your life? What does that even mean?
so and that's my thing, right? So first of all, if they don't have that, you're now making them kind of feel guilty, right? Like there's something wrong with me if I don't feel this way. The other thing is they're now starting to trivialize what jealousy is. If I want something that someone else has, but it doesn't really affect me, right? Like so my girlfriend's son is in the same class and she's talking to him because he couldn't figure out how to answer it. She goes, well, are you jealous? And he goes, yeah, I guess I'm kind of jealous that Kyle has an iPhone and I don't. And she goes, well, but even that's for me, that's petty. That's not even really jealousy, right? It's he wants it.
Yeah.
She goes, well, what'd you do about it? He's like, I don't know, nothing. I would like an iPhone, right? He doesn't want to take it from Kyle. He doesn't want to do
Yeah.
other things. And it's so like that answer is so pure, right? It's like, I don't know. I would just like one, but like he's
Yeah.
not, like, and I'm
Not
like,
going to be malicious to Kyle over it.
and so I wasn't there because we were preg checking cows actually. So I wasn't there when my girlfriend talked to them in the Christian studies. She's like, yeah, it's really deep. No, I mean, yes, it is deep, but that's like a thing for a theology class or someone much older, not a sixth grader. And I was talking to someone else and they're like, oh, you just go to like chat GPT and that'll give you an answer. So it's just an AI answer. And I was like, oh, that's great. Also, side note, related only through AI. So they had AI answering a mental health hotline for eating disorders. And there's people calling in and they're like, I would like to lose weight, and the counselor is supposed to tell them like, you don't need to lose weight, you need to be healthy, all these things. And it's like, and there's like multiple recordings of it being like, well, if you change your caloric intake, then you can lose weight and be at the weight you want to be at. And I was like, you are using AI for someone for mental health. That is a horrible decision to make.
Well, when I mentioned that about in our meeting yesterday, and I was like, you know, the one thing about Bronson that you might not know is he loves to win, and he doesn't want to be the kid that can't spell. And if you teach him how to do it, I'm like, right now, you guys have taught him that it's cheating if he uses his resources, which I don't feel like that's freaking cheating because they're not going to look at your phone, Remy. How often is your autocorrect working for you? Right
I'm
now.
going to be honest here. Autocorrect doesn't work for me. It hurts me.
Oh, why? What?
I'm like, this isn't what I meant to say. I used the
Oh,
correct word. Like, autocorrect really bothers me because it always changes gave to have every time. And I'm like, gave is a fucking word. Like, I gave you something. But again,
I feel
also,
like,
I realize that I'm in the minority because I am
yeah,
anal about grammar and spelling.
yeah, I feel like you're harboring hard feelings towards autocorrect, Remy.
It, always, it always tells me what the duck. That's not what I meant to
Yeah,
say.
what the duck? I surely did not mean to say duck. Mine doesn't even autocorrect it on
I
duck
also
anymore. I
noticed
use
this
it so
on.
much.
I also know notice this on. Now I got to think what the word is, but it's not definitely. But there's a word on Facebook.
Defiantly? I spell it defiantly all the time.
Yes,
But
defiantly. You're trying to say definitely, and people put defiantly, and I'm like, but that's not the word you wanted. You
I
wanted
know.
definitely, and I was like, again, they're like autocorrect. How many times does someone say defiantly? Think about it in your life.
Defiantly.
Like it doesn't happen. Like
Well, so
defiantly.
they agreed with me when I said that. When I
I'm
said,
also agreeing with you. I'm just saying that I am the person that.
no,
Although,
I'm not saying that you didn't,
have you
but
seen the like? Have you ever typed something into your phone or into a Word document, and the computer and phone are just like, I got no idea. I can't fix this for you. I
oh,
can't
and
read
then
it.
I'm like trying it on my computer, trying to figure it out. Oh, yeah, I have a lot of them. No, but so when I told them, I'm like, if you teach him like he could use his resources, that would be a win for him, and he would try harder in other things for you. Oh, that's a good way to look at it. And because I'm like, 5 years, they're probably not even going to have to do pen to paper anymore. Who knows? AI is going to do it all for them. They're never going to have to learn how to spell a word because it's going to do it for them. I know that a lot of people in the education system do not want to hear that, but that's truth, people. I mean, that is what we've come to.
Yeah, like I'm anti voice to text because also it makes me look like an asshole.
I don't do that. I don't even know if I've ever done that.
uh, Yesterday I was in a board meeting and I kept using voice to text because I was running, and I'm just like, never mind. Let me. When I stop running, I will text what I was trying to say because I don't know. But there's a lot of things that are changing, and instead of the times changing with them, it's almost like the school system is getting more rigid to fight the change.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I'm at. And it makes me so damn mad. I'm like, for the love of God, how could have we went through COVID and you guys still, you see no need to change? I do not understand that. I can't.
So I run into a separate problem at our school, right? So up until middle school at the school my boys are in, everything's pretty easy, right? They don't ask. And like I'm caught in between, right? So they don't know, they can tell you what a preposition is, but they can't really give you the definition, right? They don't know what a dangling participle is. Again, all these things are not important if you can read the sentence and tell me why it does not sound correct. I don't care that you don't know why it's not diagramming correctly. I want you to fix the sentence for me. And so, and it's kind of the same thing in math. They're showing them how to do it, but again, like Common Core is about how do we get close? Everything should be addition and subtraction, and I am anti that. And this isn't because I'm old school. Like when you see the numbers 6 and 7, automatically in your head, 13 and 42 should come up, right? 6 plus 7 is 13. 6 times 7 is 42. We need to associate these things together. And they don't really make them do rote memorization of certain numbers. And I'm like, but you need to so that you aren't struggling as you get older, right? Because if you can make the connection quickly, then it's fine. So Kyle comes home and he's like, I don't know what this is. And I was like, so do you know what the denominator is? And he's like, no. I was like, yeah, it's the number on the bottom. Do you know what the numerator is? No. And I'm like, okay, so they're asking you questions now that they didn't teach you before this year, and now you're supposed to know it. So I've had that conversation with our schools. Like, there's a disconnect between lower elementary and middle school, and you're expecting them to know a lot of things. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but maybe before they hit 6th grade, we should have thrown some of those words out there so at least they were comfortable with them. And
And through the homeschool thing, I have learned a lot on the way that education can look. That education is okay for it to look differently than what we have
and
always
again,
known
right,
to
like
be.
am not saying it has to be the same thing, but there's
No.
certain things that work very well for you in life, right? Like
Yeah.
rote memorization of multiplication tables is very important.
Oh, so I'm probably talking
Yeah,
about something a little
yeah.
different.
So, but like I'm like we didn't talk, so they didn't. They kind of teach that, but they don't. And now Kyle's supposed to know. Like he's like, I don't know how to figure this out, and I was like, remember when I told you not memorizing your multiplication tables was going to come to bite you in the ass? Here it is, because you still have to think about it rather than it just clicks over in your head.
Well, so like we have one of my friends, she's got I think that he's in kindergarten. He loves his iPad. He's on the flipping iPad all the time. YouTube, YouTube and everything. He loves Mr. Beast. I don't know. But how many, that sentence right there fits how many other
Mm-hmm.
little kids all over the United States, all over the world. They love this iPad, don't want to get, they can watch YouTube videos for 5, 6 hours a day and it would not bother them. We've probably conditioned and trained them to be like that though. The other day I was out in the barn and I was grabbing the hose, and when I bent down, I found a freaking turtle, Remy. It was like this big. It was so adorable. It was a painted turtle. So I picked it up and I put it in a bucket, and I texted his mom and I'm like, when Bone gets home from school today, you've got to bring him over. I have a present for him and he's going to love it. So they came over and I gave him the little turtle. And I'm like, now you get on your iPad and go to YouTube, and you need to figure out what you need to house it in and what you need to feed it and something else. Okay. Well, then he went home and he watched 3 or 4 different videos. He made a little habitat for it. He went and got its food. He went and got all the necessary things for it to live. We made it into a little learning thing for him.
So this is the thing. Like think about it, and maybe I don't know, but think about like Sesame Street, right? Like so, my stepbrother always says that he learned English from Sesame Street because they were from Argentina, and like, but that's not much different than if they're watching educational stuff on YouTube. Now the problem with YouTube is it spins off into a lot of different
I
things,
know.
but like there's a lot of good education on there. Like so
So they're
Kyle,
already watching it. Use it
so
to
use
your
it to your
advantage.
advantage, but it's not different than watching PBS, and it's not different than a
No.
lot of those things if you would just use it correctly. Like Kyle's learning about the Sumerian city states right now, so then he goes on YouTube and he finds like all these History Channel things, which me as a historian, it hurts my heart a little bit because it's like very topical history. But at the same time, if that fosters his enjoyment of the subject, he will then try and go and find more things to learn about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that people forget about things like that. And I have another friend that I was with her a couple weeks ago. I stayed at their house, and she's got littles who are really into nature, and they've built several different little habitats for frogs and toads and other things. And they took me out on little walks to show me weird bugs that they were finding, and they knew what they were, and they were looking them up. And I'm like, you don't think about that stuff until I feel like you've been down the homeschool road, because then it starts to click in your head like, this is a science experiment. We're doing a living science experiment right now. So,
Yeah, what's like even like so we
feel better.
I use the Google, like when you take the picture and then it pulls up what it is, right? And my boys know how to use that too. So same thing when they're out, because like when we go out to the pasture, there's a pond with like, well, we have arroyo toads where we are. So there's like all the tadpoles for arroyo toads, and there's like a bunch of different stuff. So they'll take pictures of things to look them up, and then that leads down the rabbit hole of them like following all the information about these things.
Yeah.
So you have to embrace the technology that's out there, and still monitor it, because some of the shit my kids watch on YouTube, I was like, that kid's an asshole. What? We're not gonna watch that guy. Like,
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I think that there's there's so many good teachers in the systems, but I also think that the school systems are burning them out. The kids are burning them out because the kids are such assholes these days. They can't do anything to discipline them because they will get in trouble for disciplining them from the school district, their parents, the kids' parents. There's just no accountability anymore, and I can see why there's a shortage of teachers because who would want to put themselves in that position day in and day
Well,
out?
and then the other thing too, like that sucks is with as many people, as many bodies as they have in the public school system, right? You can't devote enough attention to anybody. So if you're a problem, then you get pushed aside. And if you're a superstar, you're expected just to be a superstar on your own. They're just shooting for the middle. They're trying to, and the problem is when you do that, you're really only helping 60 to 70% of the kids. So that leaves a
Or
large chunk.
less.
Yeah.
Your idea about the hybrid situation, I think, is what I've been trying to put into words for 2 years now.
Because
I
think
love
about it,
that.
like if those teachers were still teaching 5 days a week, right? But they only had group A on Monday and Wednesday and group B, like then they could give those kids the attention and they're not swamped by everything. And the same thing for the kids, right? Well, if I have to get this work done, I can now do it in a manner that makes sense to me.
Remy, if
Right.
they could co op with
Mhm.
other school districts to have, well, another problem that's happening in our area is we've got three consolidated school districts. They're all on one highway, probably um, anywhere from a half hour to an hour apart from the furthest points. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about? All three of them have failing school structures. They're in dire need. They've been trying to pass a referendum in our school district for the last 3 years, and it's not passing. And right now, the school is falling apart. They, but the other school districts are the same things happening to them. So I'm like, what if they put all those three school systems together, and then say the RCW sixth grade teacher, she um she does the online one week. She works a couple days a week on the online, and then the teacher at Bold does the in person one week, and then they swap. It'd be easier for them to take time off too. There's so many good scenarios. Like I said, I don't have the time to go to bat. I would love to because I feel so strongly about all this bullshit, but I'm not going to go for the bat. I feel better after I got my rant out with them yesterday, and they all agreed with me on a lot of stuff. They took what I had to say about the teacher that I don't care for at all. They all agreed with me on that too. And it was a great meeting. Not just because they agreed on me, but I feel like we actually got somewhere. And I'm like, the way that she was talking to me, she probably should check herself. She can be glad that she caught me at 9 a.m. in the morning and not 3 in the afternoon because I wouldn't have been as happy and nice as I was at 9 at 3. Probably would have ripped her
Well,
ass.
and that's like, so Braden keeps not getting a good grade in PE. Like our viewership that knows Braden, like he is 40 spice. And the problem is that he keeps having the same PE teacher, and she's like, "Oh, he does this." Now I've sat there and watched, and and it's true. He's not making it up. The girls get to sit there on their phones, and they have the boys doing stuff. I'm like, it's not fair. And not only is it not fair, it patently looks unfair from the outside. And so then, and I told him, I was like, "Look, this is a life lesson. You got to figure it out." However, he's now had the same PE teacher 2 years in a row, and he's having the same problem. And then last year, she's like, "Well, maybe he can do stuff for extra credit." I was like, "He plays baseball every day after school for at least 3 hours. How much more do you want him to do?" And she's like, "Oh, he's just not very active." And I was like, "Okay."
And he's like this big.
Yeah, and active. And I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay." It's the same thing. Like, and I had a conversation with the office this year, and I go, "Look, I'm going to pull him out of PE. He will no longer do this. You will give him no grade in PE if I'm going to have this problem." "Oh, well, we'll talk about it." And like last year, I made him write letters to the teachers and try and be better. But it's like, okay, so he can run for his cross country coach, no problem. have no problem sitting there and listening to instructions and to run for a mile every day. But you're saying that he's insolent and is inactive in PE. No, like it doesn't marry. Okay, so those aren't the same person. So he listens to every other coach he has except for you. It doesn't make sense.
No.
So, again, different problems in a private school, still problems.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. If you have questions about anything that we talked about today, I'm pretty sure you can reach out to Remy and I, because I do know also, or as well, is sometimes they make you feel like shit as a parent for how you're educating your child, or if your child's behind, they will make you feel like shit. And I don't think that that's fair either. So
Yeah,
we
so
can talk you through that and how to handle them after that.
I can write you a strongly worded letter. I'm really good at them. It's hard for them to make me feel like shit because I'm a force unto myself. Like James goes, they're afraid of you in the office, and I was like, they should be.
Oh, I don't know if they're afraid of me, but they definitely know that I'm strongly opinionated and I'm not backing down, especially when it comes to my kids.
I think that's what it is. I don't think they're afraid of me. They're just like, this bitch right here. Not today.
Oh, funny. All right, Rem, I better get going here, but it was good to be back on with you this week. Missed being on with you.
I will get this posted, and I'll even do like a little YouTube clip where we can fast forward and be like, at 20 minutes, we start talking about education. Yeah. For you, Mr. Brookshire, if you're still listening, you can skip past all the small talk.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, I think next week we have a guest, Miss Kay Walters. Looking forward to chatting with her. And yeah, have a great weekend, Remy.
You too. So until next week.
Be bold.
Be brave.
Be humble. We'll see you next week, Remy.
Bye.